Solving Linear Systems Using Inverses and Cramer's Rule by Justin D'Souza. The learning objectives of this lesson are to solve systems of linear equations using inverse matrices, and then we will use Cramer's rule to do the same. Cramer is a mathematician who found a unique method and an easy and a simpler method to solve systems of equation using matrices. We will see it in a while. The keywords are square system and Cramer's rule. We're looking at both of them. Use inverse matrices. We can use inverse matrices to solve systems of equation. Now before that, what is square matrix? A square system. Not a square matrix, square system. If you have equal number of equations and variables. Now if you have x and y variables, so you need to have two equations to solve them. If you have, say, ax plus by equals c and something like that, a2x plus b2y equals c2. Now you have two equations and two variables. This is a square matrix. If there was one more variable, say z, and you have three equations, and then that would be also a square matrix. So equal number of the variables and the equations. So how do we use inverse matrices to solve systems of equation? That's simple, by this particular formula. Now if you know a multiplied by x equals b, then we can find x, unknown variable. If we take a to the other side, it's the inverse a times b. Now it is not as easy as it seems. When we solve it, it's a little bit different. We will look into a problem now. A quick reminder, please make sure you watch the previous video about matrices, multiplication, inverse. Everything is mentioned in that video. You can see the link to that video in the description as well. Please make sure you're thorough with that and then continue this. Now, there are plenty of ways to solve it. Here, the first method, you need to split out the coefficients, variables, and the equal to the right side of the equation, the constants, to three separate matrices. Now you can see we have just written 2, 3, minus 3, and 5 in the first matrix, just the coefficients. Then the variable. Here, just make sure you write it as a single column, in the sense, not two columns, two rows and one column. Now here, this equation, this constants, just like that. Now here what we do is we leave xy here and take this to the other side, but that's not just possible. What we do is we find the inverse of the matrix A. Find the inverse. We have done inverse in detail in the last video, and then we multiply it with the constants, that is minus 1 and 3. We know how to find the inverse, that is by this formula, the determinant, 1 by determinant, or you just have to multiply. Let me do it over here quickly. So for determinant, we can just do like this. It's 2 times 5 minus these two, product of these two, that is minus 3 times minus 3. Now here we will get 10 minus, again over here, minus is plus 9, and then minus remains, so it will be minus 9. Answer is 1. Since the determinant is other than 0, we have an inverse. Now here the determinant is 1, so it will be 1 by 1. This is basically the determinant. Now what happens to the inverse? A inverse would be, swap these two. Instead of 2 over here, you have to write the D, that is A. 5 goes over here, see, it's swapped. A, B, C, D, right? This diagonal is swapped. So you will have 5 and 2. But what about the other two terms? It will be changed in sign, so minus becomes plus. So this would be your matrix. And now here the determinant was 1 by 1. That means it doesn't make any change. So this is your answer. Now what you need to do is to find x and y, you need to multiply. See, the variable x, that matrix will be A inverse B. So multiply this with the matrix over here. 5, 3, 3, 2 is multiplied with negative 1 and 3. So how do you multiply this with this? So I'll just write it out over here. It'll be 5 times negative 1, 5 times negative 1 plus 3 times 3. With the tail, the head with the head. So it is 3 times 3 That's the first. And now there is no other column, so it's done. That's it. The first value is done. So this is the x value. Now the y value would be next row with the same column. It'll be 3 times minus 1 plus 2 times 3. We will just solve this up. What happens here is minus 5 plus 3 times 3 is 9. So we will have 9 minus 5 is 4. And here it's minus 3 plus 6. That will be plus 3. So the answer is 4 and 3. This is the x value. That is the y value. This is how we find using inverse. We can see the inverse matrix 5, 3, 3, 2. Yes, that's what we obtained. And then the final answer is 4 and 3. So this is how we solve it. The method remains the same, even if it's 3 cross 3 or 2 cross 2. It's just that first we need to split them in the coefficient, variable, and then the constants. Then we find the inverse of A. Over here, just remember, we are writing it in terms of ax equals b. To find x, we have to find a inverse b. Now remember, this is multiplication of matrices, so you need to multiply this with this. So you can also do multiplication by calculator, inverse by calculator, determinants by calculator of any matrices. We have done it in the previous video. Please go down to the description and watch it thoroughly. So once you find the inverse, just multiply it with the constants and you'll get the answer. Since this is system of equation, you can also use various methods to solve systems of equation. That can be subtraction, addition rule, or getting into point slope method. There are various methods, but the best and the easiest method I will show you in calculator as well. Now, one thing, if you're just solving it manually, if you're solving it in detail manually, I'll just tell you how you can solve systems of equations. Just a recall, which I already studied before. Now you have 2 over here minus 3 here, and 3 and 5. These are not same, right? You need to get the first terms or the second terms into equal numbers but opposite signs. So what I can do is over here, since they are opposite signs, well and good, leave them as it is. Just multiply this 3 over here throughout and this 2 here throughout. Okay. This is just another method. If you at all get confused completely using matrices, just do this in writing. You will get the same answers, 4 and 3. I'll show you now. We are multiplying 3 throughout over here. It will be 6x minus 9y equals negative 3. And what about this? It will be minus 6x plus 10y equals 6. Now you can cancel this off and solve it over here. It'll be y equals 3. So y is equal to 3. Now substitute back in any of this or these two equations. It's better to put in the original equation, which are simpler. Over here it's 2x minus 3y equals negative 1. So I know 2x, x is unknown, but 3y, y is again 3 equals negative 1. So I'll take this to the other side. It'll be 2x equals minus 1. 3 times 3 is 9, but minus 9 to the other side is plus 9. So what happens is 2x equals 8, x equals positive 4, and x was 4, y is 3. Now the last method I'll show you is the calculator method. We need our calculators here. Whenever your systems of equation, you need to go to more, and this is equation basically. So it's phi, and then option 1 gives you x, y, and a constant. This is the option number 1. So now you need to type all the constants, that is coefficients, sorry, 2, minus 3, and minus 1. And we have minus 3, phi, and lastly we have 3. Now, some students get confused thinking that this is it. Do we need to take it inside the equal to? Is it equal to 0? No. As it is, it should be ax plus by equals c. This is the standard form. I will show you in a minute how you can check the standard form in the calculator. Before that, I've just typed them as it is over here, and now press equal to. X is 4 and y is 3. If you go to more phi, these are the standard forms. Look at the first standard form. It is ax plus by equals c. Cn is basically constant. Bn is, any number 1, 2, 3, and so on. So since there are two equations over here, when you select a first one, coefficient of the first x over here is 2, and then minus 3, and we just now did it. So it's the same thing. You can substitute over here the next equations. Make sure you write the appropriate signs and then just press equal to, you will get the answers directly. So these are the different methods how we can solve systems of equations. In this lesson, we have to use matrices. It's simple to use matrices as well, but if you do get confused, if you forget it completely, try other methods as well. Now, you can do this in various methods, whichever you find helpful, but I would suggest you try the matrix method because that is the lesson about, and then you can continue watching the video. Now, here I will just solve one of them. Let's do this. I will solve it in the actual method, the ax equals b, this using inverses. I will solve them. Now here the coefficients would be 6, 1, minus 4, minus 5. And what about x? It is x and y. And what about b? That is equal to minus 8, minus 12. So this is it. Now here I need to take the inverse of the matrix A. So let me find the determinant. Determinant is given by straight two lines. That will be 6 times minus 5 minus, remember this is minus, and over here we have 1 times minus 4. The determinant would be 6 times 5 is 30, but it's a negative 30 here, and over here we have negative negative will be plus 4. So the answer is negative 26. That is the determinant. Now what about the inverse? Just swap these two over here. Inverse of A would be 1 by minus 26. Here for the inverse matrix, swap the diagonal, so it'll be minus 5 and 6. And what about the others? Just change the sign. So this negative 4 becomes positive 4 and 1 becomes negative 1. Now and one more thing. Many students tend to forget to change the sign over here, or even if they change, what happens is you change one sign, so whichever is positive make it negative, but the negative won't be changed to positive. These are some of the mistakes which students often do, so please be careful with all these. Now remember the formula to find x is a inverse b, isn't it? So what we do is x and y over here, let's write inverse matrix. Now don't multiply this 1 by negative 26 inside now, we can do it later. Minus 26, let me write it like that. Let me multiply first with simple numbers and then let me change it. So this is the inverse matrix, and what about the b? It's minus 8 minus 12. Now here multiplication of the matrix would be negative 5 times negative 4, negative 8, it'll be positive 40. Minus and minus becomes plus, so it's plus 12 here. And I forgot to write 1 by minus 1 by 26. This is always there, okay? Now what about the next one? It is 4 times 8, that's negative 32. See, the sign is minus 32 plus, sorry, again it's minus 12 times 6 is 60 plus 12, it's 72. Now here, that's negative 1 by 26. And over here we have 52 divided by 104. Now see, 26 is a multiple of these, 52 divided by minus 26 would be minus 2. And what about this here? Oh yeah, I forgot the sign, minus. Minus is minus. Now 26 4 times is 104, so it's 4, positive 4. So the answer would be x is minus 2, y is 4. Let's just check the answer. Yes, that's the answer. Okay, so that's how we do it. And you can try the other one by yourselves. I will just try the calculator method now. All you need to do is mod phi and 1 and put all the coefficients in. Minus 3, 9, 36. Here we have 7, minus 8, and lastly we have minus 19. And the answers are 3 and 5. That's it. So this is how we solve it. Now please use the same method all the time. If it's 3 cross 3 matrix, Once you do the determinant, I will highly recommend you to use the calculator for matrix mode 6 and do the matrix mode and solve it up. The reason being, it'll just take too much time. Okay, it's a lengthy method, lengthy procedure. If you have plenty of time in exam, then it's fine. If no, then I would suggest you to, as long as you know the methods, write everything properly, do the inverse and calculator for 3 cross 3. Because in the last lesson, they had mentioned graphing calculators for the inverse of 3 cross 3 matrices. Now, what about this problem? It's a real world problem. Let's read it out. Badria is investing 20,000 dirhams by purchasing three bonds with expected annual returns of 10%, 8%, and 6%. Investments with a higher expected return are often riskier than other investments. She wants an average annual return of dirhams 1,340. If she wants to invest three times as much money in the bond with the 6% return than the other two combined, how much money should she invest in each bond? Now, first and foremost, you need to have three equations. Why? Because they have told three bonds. Three bonds, okay? So it is X, Y, and Z. The first one, imagine the bond 1x, let's consider, because I don't know what is it, plus y plus z. How much money is invested? It's 20,000. So if you add all the three bonds, the total money is 20,000. The next equation over here, the annual return. See, the annual return is how much? The money obtained, what she's aiming for is 1340, 1340. The returns from the x1 is how much? 10%. So I'll write 10% of x. So 10% of this particular bond plus 8% of the second bond plus 6% of the last bond will give you annual returns of so much. So 10% of whatever investment was done over here, if you add it up with this 8% and the Z 6%, the third one, you must get so much. Okay, these two are pretty easy, already mentioned. The last sentence over here, that's the third equation. I'll write it over here. She wants to invest three times as much as money in the bond 6, the 6% interest than the other two combined. So in the bond 6, let me write, Z is the bond 6%, right? Because the third one. Z will be equal to 3 times the other two combined, X plus Y, because she's investing 3 times as much money as the 6% bond, 3 times as much money as this one combined with these two. So it is 3 times more than the sum of the first two bonds is invested in the last one. That's why they have also mentioned over here, higher the expected return, it's a riskier. These are more volatile, whereas these lower returns, lower return would be more safer, secure. That's the thing. Now, how do we solve this? It'll be Z is equal to 3x plus 3y. You can take x and y to the other side or z to the other side. It's the same thing. It'll be 3x plus 3y equals, sorry, minus z. I took z to the other side, only one to remove, and it'll be negative. So now here we have 3x plus 3y plus minus z is equal to 0. So these are basically the three equations. Now here the same formulas can be used, inverses. You can write all the coefficients and solve. Now look over here, this 10% means you can write it as 0.01x as well. 10% is 0.01, sorry, not 0.01, it's 0.1. Divide by 100, it will be 0.1x and 0.08y and 0.06z. Or if you put directly in the calculator, it'll automatically calculate this. I'll show you in a while. Here ax equals b, and then you can take this x is equal to a inverse of b. So this is how we solve it, but I'll use the calculator now. It's mod phi. Now look at this. When we had two equations, we use the first one, x and y variable. Now look at this. We have three variables, x, y, z. So take the option 2. You'll have three equations. So what is the coefficients over here? It's 1, 1, 1, and we have 20,000. So that is the first equation. And now what about this? You can write either 10% directly, that'll be 0.1, or you can write 0.08, whichever suits you. and 6% is the last one. It'll automatically be computed, equals 1340. And the last one is 3, 3 and minus 1, and last equal to 0. So what are the answers? We are getting 2000 for x, 3000 for y, and 15,000 for the last one. So the answers over here, so these are the equations. That's what we have written. They have just written the third one in the second option. It's fine, anything. You can write anyhow, you'll get the same answer. And over here, they have just done the inverse. They have also used graphing calculators to find inverse, because generally, when it's a 3 cross 3 matrix, we use graphing calculator to find inverse. And then when you solve it, we got the same answer. It is 2000, 3000, and 15,000. And this makes sense because when you add these two, A and B, it is 5,000 times 3 would be 15,000. They are told this is 3 times more than the other two combined. That's how we solve it up. That's the answer. And over here, just the same thing. The first one is basically 2000, 3000, and 15,000. You can do the check as well. If you substitute back in the original equation, you must get the right hand side. Now there is a check problem. Please do try it by yourselves and then you can continue watching the video. It's about industry. During 3 consecutive years, an auto assembly plant produced a total of 720,000 cars. The first one. Now here, what is given? 3 consecutive years. First year, second year, third year. Let's add them up. How many cars? 720,000. Now, if 50,000 more cars were made in the second year than the first one. So in the second year, how much? 50,000 plus x. So what can you do? You can take x to the other side. It will be minus x plus y plus 0. Okay, there's nothing over here. Let me write it properly over here. There is no z over here because it was only first and second mentioned. So I'll write 0 z is equal to 50,000. That's the second equation. And what about the last equation? And 80,000 more cars were made in the third year z than second year. So third year it was 80,000 plus second year. Okay, so this will be 0 to x because nothing in the x. It'll be minus y because we'll take the y to the other side, or else you have to take the z to the other side and this 80,000 to the other side. Just two signs will be negative. Over here it's just one sign, negative. Minus y plus z is equal to 80,000. That's all the equations we have. Now you can find the inverse. See, it's the coefficients are 1, 1, 1, minus 1, 1, 0, 0, minus 1, and 1. And if you do the inverse in the calculator, you can directly do the inverse and then multiply with this matrix, you will get the answer. Or you can do systems of equation in calculator to solve it. Again, we need to go to the same thing, mode phi 3. Now here already there is written, I'll just use this, but it's now 720,000. And over here we have minus 1, 1, and 0. And this is 50,000. And lastly, we have 0, minus 1, and 1 over here for 80,000. And the answers are 180,000 cars are manufactured in the first year. Let's just see. Yes. And the second year there were 230,000 cars, and the last year the highest was 310,000. These are the answers. Just from these three equations, easily can solve it up. The second equation was found by like this. Second year was 50,000 more than the first, whereas third year was 80,000 more than the second. That's how we solve these matrix problems. Using inverse matrices, we can solve systems of equation. Now we go to the Cramer's rule. Before we go over here, a quick reminder to all of you. Please do like my video, share it with your friends. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to it. Now, what is Cramer's rule? Cramer is a mathematician who found out from matrices we can find the systems of equation, the solution for the systems of equation by a simpler method than finding the inverse, only by determinants. Now, this is in detail. I'll just show you the formula, which is very important. This one over here. If you want to find any one particular answer, each solution can be easily solved. You don't need to solve all the xyz. Imagine you just need a x value. Then his method is very effective and efficient because you can solve any required variable. Now let me just go to the formula over here. Okay, this is the formula. Let me write it out over here, a few things. So imagine you have A, B, C, and D, and that is equal to D, E, and F. Okay. Here you need to find the determinant of this matrix, okay, no matter what, that is the determinant of the given matrix, whatever is found, the coefficient. We were doing it, right? Ax equals b. So that's the same thing here. Here the coefficients are a, so find the determinant, write it down. And up above, you need to again find the determinant, but what? If you are finding x, the first column is being replaced by the solution set over here. Instead of A, C, you have to write E, F, and then remaining remains the same. This is to find AX. I mean, the first value, x1, sorry, x1, x value. Okay, I'll just change that over here. It is to find the first variable, x variable. Now, if you want to find the y variable, what do you do over here is, again, you leave the first one as it is because y variable is the second column, right? So here instead of b and d you write e and f. That determinant you need to find and divide it by the determinant of a. That remains the same thing. If you have another variable, so on and so forth, it will be 3 cross 3 matrix. Now we will see a problem here. Same method like what we have done. First, consider the coefficients 3, 2, minus 4, minus 1. Now we will find the determinant of the matrix A. It is 3 times minus 1. Now remember, when we are finding determinant, it's minus 2 times minus 4. The answer will be minus 3 plus 8, that is positive 5. The determinant is other than 0. We can have inverse, but we are not going to find inverse here. So determinant is found out. So to find x, like x1, okay, the first one, here the determinant is 5. Now we need to find the determinant of what? X1, right, the first column. So instead of 3 and minus 4, I write 6 and minus 13. The remaining 2 and minus 1 remains. Okay. And now you need to again find the determinant of above. So this is done. Let me just find the determinant of 6 times minus 1 minus 2 times minus 13. The answer would be minus 6 plus 26. That is positive 20. So you have 20 divided by 5, that is equal to 4. That's the answer. If you want to find x2, x2 would be equal to determinant of 3 minus 4. This column remains, but only the next column changes. Instead of the coefficients of x2, we write positive 6 and negative 13 divided by 5. What is the determinant of this? It will be 3 times minus 13 minus 6 times minus 4. So we have over here 3 times minus 13 is 39, negative 39, plus 6 times 4 is 24. So the answer over here would be minus 15. So it's minus 15 by 5. Answer is negative 3. The final solutions are x1 is 4, x2 is negative 3. So this is how we can use Cramer's rule and solve. You can see the final answer 4 and negative 3. Now, if you recall the previous method, the inverse methods, they were pretty long, It takes time. Whereas this one using determinants is much easier and simpler. So this is a very effective method. And obviously you can solve this by systems of equation, mode 5, 1, and you can easily put in the coefficients and solve it as well in calculator. So it's up to you to choose the method. So this is the thing. And over here, you can please do try them by yourselves. Okay, let me just do one of this. I will do the middle one over here. So what we do is write the coefficients minus 9, 3, 2, minus 1. And that is x, y. We don't need to write this basically. Why? Because we are using the formula. This is just the coefficient is enough. Okay, coefficient a. Now let me find the determinant of that. Write determinant a. That is negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9 minus 2 times 3 is 6. The answer is 3. Determinant of A. Now here all you do is AX, or you can just write, sorry, it's not AX, it's X only, okay? The first variable, you need to find the determinant. Determinants are given by straight lines instead of the matrix. Divided by determinant of A is given by 3. Over here we found out. But now instead of minus 9 and 2, you need to substitute 8 minus 3, 3 minus 1. Now find the determinant over here. It'll be 8 times minus 1 is minus 8, minus of minus, over here again 3 times 3 will be minus 9. So I'll make it plus 9. Why? Because already for determinant you have minus in between these two terms, and over here there is minus, it becomes plus. And now it's answer 1. So x is 1/3. And what about y? Y would be minus 9, 2, and over here 8 and negative 3 divided by 3. So now the determinant of this 9 times 3 is 27, positive because of minus and minus, minus 16. It's 27 minus 16, that would be 9. Sorry, it's 11. 27 minus 16, yes, it's 11. 11 is the answer, so it'd be 11 by 3. So those are the solutions. You can see it's 1 by 1/3 and 11 by 3. Okay. And over here, the first one, we got 18 and 32. You can try it by yourselves, or you can use the calculator as well to check. And over here, okay, this one is interesting. There's no unique solution. Let's do this one now. Let me just do this. A equals 12 minus 9, 4 minus 3. Okay. Now find the determinant of this. It will be 12 times minus 3 is 36, minus 36. Minus and minus becomes plus. 9 times 4 is again 36. What is the answer here? 0. The determinant is 0. So when the determinant is 0, can you solve it up? If I just go a while ago, you're dividing this by determinant, it's undefined, right? So you cannot have any unique solution here. Okay. So this is the answer. So in this particular lesson, you don't need to mention, oh, there are infinite solution, there is, a same solution, or no solution. No, you don't need to mention anything. You can just put no unique solution. That's it. No unique solution means either infinite solutions, it's the same line, or it can be no solution altogether. So that is the answer we have. So please make sure if you get a math error in your calculator when you're solving, please find the determinant, and determinant would be 0. Therefore, it is no unique solution. Now, the same thing here, guys. You can please do try to solve them by yourselves. Only thing is over here, please take this to the inside the equal to. Let me solve it in calculator. We go to mod phi 3, mod, sorry, it's mod phi and 2. Now it's minus 1 here, the coefficient of x. Then we have minus 2. And last one is positive 4 because it goes inside the equal to. Let me write it out over here. What happens is, it'll be minus x minus 2y plus 4z equals 12. So be careful with that. That's the only trick thing over here. And then we have last one, 12. Here it is 3 minus 6, 1, 15. And lastly, we have 2, 5. And again over here, there is no z value. So this equation turns out to be 2x plus 5y equals 0. There is, sorry, minus, no, I have written wrong here. Plus 0z equals minus 1. Because plus 1 to the other side becomes minus 1. So it's 0 here, and lastly we have minus 1. This would be the answers: 2, minus 1, and 3. So you can use the matrix, solve it by determinants, or by calculator. You can find the determinant by calculator easily. So the answers over here, you can see it is 2. We got x as 2, y as negative 1, and lastly z as 3. The z value must be 3. That's it. And you can check it by substituting back in the original equations. It must, both the sides must match. Now here as well, please do try these by yourselves. You can try it in calculator and you will get the answers. Now I will do this in calculator and show you. Now let's type the coefficients. 8, 12, minus 24, and then minus 40. Again, 3, minus 8, 12, and 23. And lastly, we have 2, 3, and minus 6, and minus 10. Now look at the thing. They told infinite solution, but in most of the calculators, you will get math error. Now, whenever that occurs, what you can do is consider going to the matrix mode. Mode 6. I mean, it's 3 cross 3. It'll take a long time to find the determinant, so I'm directly using the calculator here. Let's use matrix 1. It's 3 cross 3. Again, 1. Let's type the coefficient. 8, 12, minus 24. Only the coefficient of xyz. That's the matrix A. Next one is 3, minus 8, and 12. And lastly, we have 2, 3, minus 6. Once you type in all the values, press equal to, and now we can press AC. Now you can see the matrix mode is on. Never go to mode matrix again. Press shift 4. Use only shift and 4 until you solve the problems of matrices. Now here what you do is you need to find the determinant, that's option number 7, and then again shift 4. We have saved the matrix A already. Close the bracket and press equal to. The answer is 0. So the determinant is 0, therefore there is no unique solution here. Now here if you type in the calculator, you will get these as the answers. This is the end of this lesson. I hope you have found it helpful. Do share it among your friends who might find it helpful. Do share it with their classmates. Do hit the like button on my videos. And a quick reminder to subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. The reason I say this is more than 90% of the people who view my videos are not subscribed. So if you're one of them, please do subscribe. Thank you guys. I wish you all happy learning and see you in the next video.